What are we to make of this account? Thessalonica, Berea, the response that Paul received from the Jewish community, the favorable response, the antagonistic response. Paul's back-to-back experiences in Thessalonica and Berea naturally lend themselves, speaking now, going back to my young girl, talking about New Year's resolutions. This passage lends itself naturally to 3 New Year's resolutions. So if you haven't already made your own resolutions for this New Year's Day, allow me the privilege of suggesting 3 to you. 1, first resolution, understanding that public exhibition of faith in Yeshua often leads to persecution. We might resolve to anticipate some level of communal hostility. Again, my aforemention of Twitter at the front of our mind, and be prepared to react accordingly. Anticipate some level of communal hostility and be prepared to react accordingly. Now, interestingly enough, in Thessalonica, Paul agrees. I will leave. In fact, they all leave. The leadership, the missionaries, they all leave. The community there is under such persecution that it can only be relieved. So they have a strategy. Their strategy at this point is to cut bait and run for the time being, until such time as a return can be made, in order for the strength of the community in the eye of persecution. Now in Berea, antagonism again, but only Paul leaves, leaving intact leaders to disciple. So, point being, there was a plan, and the plans were executed depending on the context of the persecution. So anticipate some level, whatever level of communal hostility, and be prepared to react accordingly, whatever that may be, for your family, in your job, in your town. If that means, for those of you watching at home, if that means that eventually you need to leave your community because it's not a community in which the values that the Bible would instill in us, of those values are not supported by the community around, okay? And I'm looking to the West Coast, by the way, right now, okay? Not to point any fingers, but just saying, then you might want to consider moving to a place where your faith and the faith of your family can thrive. If your job places you in a position where you cannot execute your faith openly, then you might want to consider your strategy might be looking for an exit for that job, or a transfer, or some kind of a change, so that you can become what the Lord wants you to be and exercise your faith accordingly. Well, that's resolution 1. Resolution number 2, we could resolve to commit yourself to daily examining and actively engaging with the Scriptures systematically and with regularity. Now, I know that that's something a lot of people give lip service to daily examination of the Scripture. I'm not talking about 5-hour marathon study sessions every day. Open the book, crack the book, or crack the app. Open the app on a daily basis, or as nearly a daily basis as you can. Few minutes, 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever the time is. Daily examine and actively engage with the Scriptures, and have a plan to do so. Systematically. Don't just, let me flip through the pages. Where am I going to wind today? Boom. No. Bible's not a fortune cookie, right? And This requires as much forethought, just flipping through pages. That requires no forethought. You're going to get as much out of that as you've just put into it. Right? But systematically and with regularity, examine the scriptures daily and engage in them. That's a second resolution that I might suggest that we commit ourselves to. And of course, a final resolution based upon the example of Paul, Silas, Timothy. Resolve to emulate Paul's commitment to Jewish evangelism. Part of that is addressed by the fact that you're here at a Messianic congregation and indicates that you are at least open to the idea of sharing the gospel with Jewish people, not just receiving a Jewish perspective on the scriptures or on things, but that you are indeed, that you have some sort of a heart and openness to Jewish evangelism. That's something that can be fostered and nurtured and developed over time if we resolve to do so. So I've given you 3 New Year's resolutions, suggested. I didn't charge you anything for them. From me to you, gratis and with love, for a happy and a healthy New Year.